a few young people here, and I'm sure we probably have some young people online. But the topic of the sermon is called Let's Get Real. Let's Get Real. I named it that because a lot of times we don't want to dig into the real nitty gritty of things. A lot of times we like sweeping it up under the rug. I don't know about you, but growing up, my mother used to tell us to clean up, and when we go into the room, we'll get all the dirty stuff and throw it in the closet and make it look like it's clean until she go into that closet and say, you ain't do nothing but throw all this, clean up for real. And there's a lot of times that's what a lot of people do with a lot of things. They try to cover it up or sweep it up under the rug. But you got to get real with reality and a lot of things. So I like to do a self-examination. During this time frame in the middle of the year is a time where I examine myself. I ask myself a few questions. And I'd like for some of you to ask yourself the same things. Some of the questions I ask myself is, during these past 6 months, what are some things that I have done that I am proud of? Another question I like to ask myself is, what are some things that I have done that I'm not so proud of? Another question I like to ask myself is, how have my relationship with God been? Or do I even really have a true relationship with God? Young people, if you want a relationship with God, here is how you get one. I'm going to go through a lot of scriptures here. In Romans chapter 10, verse 9 through 10, it reads, if you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. So first, you must realize that you need him while understanding that Jesus is good and you are not. And also you must understand that he will save your soul. And I wrote a few examples of a sinner's prayer. The first example is, God, I want a relationship with you because I need you. I believe that your son Jesus died for my sins and only he can save my soul. I want you to come into my heart and help me to be a better person. That's one prayer. Another example of a prayer is, God, I know that Jesus is Lord, and I believe that you have raised him from the dead, and I know that he died for my sins. God, I want a relationship with you. I cannot see you, but I know that you live. Lord, please live inside of me and help me in my life. Another prayer is, Jesus, save me. I need you. You see, it really doesn't matter how you say your prayer because God is more concerned about what's in your heart. You know, back in 2010 when I really accepted God, I didn't even know what I was saying, but I know that I needed him. And I had asked him to come into my life and into my heart. You see, it's one thing to knowing that you need him, but it's another thing when you feel like you don't need him. Now, those are the people who are in trouble. The ones who feel like they don't need him. So let's get real. In John chapter 15, starting at verse 1, and I read again, it reads, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he take away. And every branch that bears fruit, he purged it, that it may bring forth more fruit. The first question I have for you is, who you with? Who you with? This was a song by Lil Jon and the East Side Boys that came out 2001. I was 16 years old. And during this time frame, I was clubbing a lot with my crew, and we went to this club called The Matrix. And in this song, it go a little something like this. All right? So when this song was going out, who you with, who you with? I remember this one day I had like 20 people behind me. Who you with? Brewtown, who you with? Brewtown. I'm screaming all this. And all these people behind me, I felt like I'm protected. I got my boys with me. I felt like I was protected. But this one particular night, I was screaming and crunking, who you with, Brewtown. I'm screaming my hood and twisting up my fingers. And all of a sudden, this young boy came out of nowhere and stole on me. Boom! Punched me. And I said, he caught me out of nowhere. When he punched me, I said, but I'm about to get him. But when he punched me, the security had grabbed him and took him out of the club, and I couldn't get to him. And I'm looking at my boys like, man, I know y'all got my back. We about to tear this thing up. And they was like, man, chill out, man. That wasn't nothing, man. You ate that punch, man. That ain't nothing. I'm like, man, y'all ain't got my... I said, man, we about to tear this thing up. But you know, one thing I learned is it don't matter who you with if you ain't with God. It doesn't matter who you with. You can feel like you protected. I felt like I was protected. It doesn't matter how many people you with if you playing on the devil's playground. You see, growing up, you can't predict where you're going to be with. You can be in Crosby Circle, like Miss Sherry said. You can grow up in Broomtown, District 25, different communities. You're going to be a part of different teams. Clemson, South Carolina. You're going to be repping different organizations. But when it's all said and done, you have to ask yourself, are you with God or are you with the devil? Who are you really with, young people? Are you with God or are you with the devil? You see, because he was talking about the fruits that you bear. If you don't have good fruits, you will be cast out. So are you with the father of lights or are you with the father of lies? Here's an example of somebody who was with the father of lies. Can you turn to the video so they can see it? Cut it up. 14-year-old game member Daquan River brags about and jokes about shooting a pizza man. He on YouTube bragging about shooting and killing a pizza man. Or shooting, it didn't say kill, but he shot him. Young person. That's an example of being with the father of lies. Now, can this young person be changed? Well, in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8, Go to that for me. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8. We're going to get into some scriptures today. It reads this in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 8. For you was once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. So you ought to live as children of light. You see, a lot of people may see that video and be like, man, that man ain't going to change. Oh, he headed for destruction. And looking at that video, it does look like he headed for destruction. But don't you know that even that young man could change? With the Spirit and the power of God. And you see, that video right there got over 3 million views. A lot of people love looking at negative stuff. But we're going to need some believers who can look at that negative and turn it into a positive. Don't you know there's probably some people that done prayed for that young boy? Done prayed for that young man to change his ways and to change how he think about things and to let God go in. We need some prayer warriors when it comes to the youth. Some prayer warriors who's going to not just look at stuff and talk about it, but talk to God about it. Talk to God about changing somebody's heart. Talk to God about changing somebody's mindset. Talk to God about changing somebody's life. We need some prayer warriors, especially in 2023. Because just because you was once one way doesn't mean you can't go a whole nother way. Realizing that you need them on a daily basis, realizing that it's going to take some prayer warriors for these young people, for the young generation. He talked about these fruits in John chapter 15, verses 1 through 2. He talked about these fruits. What are the fruits of the Spirit? What are the fruits of the Spirit? Well, if you go to Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 through 23, Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 through 23, it tells you the fruits of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So young people, while building your relationship with God, you have to ask God not only to come into your life, but also ask him to help you produce more fruits. Help you to bear more fruits so you can be more and more Christ-like. And to take on this love, this joy, this peace, this patience, this kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. But I'd like to tell you something. It won't always be easy. You see, when you ask God to help you show more love, he may place somebody in your life that you really don't even like. Don't he do it? He may place somebody in your life that you can't stand, and you like, yeah. You ask God for this love. You ask God for this joy. Show joy to somebody who you don't even care for. Show love to somebody who you don't even like talking to. You see, because it's easy to show love to your brothers and your sisters in Christ. It's easy to show love to a family member, but it's another thing, a whole nother level to show love to your enemies. Now, come on. Now, somebody who you try to avoid on a day-to-day basis at work. Somebody who you may try to avoid at school. But I'm telling you, the more you get into God and the more you get into his word and ask God to help you produce these more fruits, you will be surprised. Won't even think about how much love you will show. Won't even think about how much kindness you will show, generosity you will show. It'll just flow like water. But you first have to ask God for this. John chapter 15, verse 3 through 7 reads, "Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you." He said, "Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can you except you abide in me." He said, "I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abide in me and I in him, the same bring forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered. And men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, you shall ask me what you will, and it shall be done." Another thing I want to suggest is trust the process. You see, this thing, when you get new into Christ, you just don't change overnight. Raise your hands if you still got issues or you still got some things you need to work on or God is working on your own. I'll be the first to admit I still got some things that God is working on me on. But the more you get into him, the more you get that relationship with Christ, you watch how he molds you. You watch how he shaped you into the man and woman of God that he created you to be. So point one is you may not change overnight, but you will change in due time. And the main thing while we're doing this is, he said, "Abide in me and I abide in you." So what he's really suggesting is get to know who he is. Get to know who God is. And not only that, but ask God to help you know who you are. You see, because you'll be surprised what these young people go through. You'll be surprised what people tell these young people. "Boy, you bad," or "Girl, you bad," or "You ain't gonna never be nothing." All this negative feedback. But don't you know when you in Christ, God is calling you a leader. God is saying you're a man of God. You're a woman of God. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And that's what we got to get into the habit of. Every time we see somebody young, we got to let them know that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are a leader. You are king. You are queen. You are princess. You are prince. It's up to us to not talk like the world talk. We be so quick to say, "Oh, boy, that boy bad as ever." No. God didn't, see, when you made new in Christ, we don't talk like that no more. That's our former talk. That's how we used to talk. But now we say, "Boy, you're going to be a wonder, you're going to be an awesome man of God. You're a mighty child of God." Be surprised, what? I ain't never heard that before. That's right. When you in Christ, man, things begin to change. You got to change the way you look at things, and we have to change the way we talk. Especially to these young people. Especially to these young people. Leaders. Natural born leaders. Not just football stars, not just basketball stars, but I'm talking about doctors. I'm talking about lawyers. I'm talking about owners, entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs. Let's go to the next slide. The picture. This guy right here, my childhood friend, grew up on West Washington Street. His name Justin Jenkins. But we ain't used to call him Justin Jenkins. We used to call him Juice back in the day because he had a lot of juice. He had a great entrepreneur mindset. But during that time frame, he was nothing but 14, 15 years old probably one of the biggest drug dealers on the west side of Greenville. He had a lot of people working for him, selling drugs for him. He didn't have to go out and run to cars or sell drugs, but he had people working for him. And when I tell you he used to go to clubs with wires of money and big jewelry on, and he used to say, hey, man, come with me, man. I used to jump in his big old car. But like I told y'all last week, I never did sell drugs because I already knew where that took my father to, so I didn't want to go into that route. But I was affiliated with a lot of them, and this was one of the biggest ones in Greenville growing up. 15 years old, one of the biggest drug dealers in Greenville, but got caught. And he was in jail for about 4 or 5 years. And when he got out of jail, he gave me a call. He said, man, I'm about to be a truck owner. God done changed his life. And, man, you know how some people just say things. They just be talking. You be like, yeah, man, you got it, boy. I was like, you got it, man, because you was smart enough, because he was. But he just didn't talk the talk, y'all. He walked the walk. And now he's a truck owner. He owner-operator of trucks and got a whole lot of people working for him. Listen to what he said. Can you play the sound on that? If you can't hear it, I'll just tell you what he said. Hold on, he about to get that sound straight. But while they're getting the sound straight, don't you know God may put entrepreneurship in so many people, but they're using it for the wrong reasons? But once you get it to God, once you submit to him and realize that you really need him, you watch how God change you and watch how he reroute your vision. Reroute you to a whole nother point of view. It's so many owners out there that sell drugs, don't even know they're multimillionaires in good legal companies. But how will they know if they don't submit? Here we go.
Owning a trucking company, what you wanted to do?
Nah, I never, dreamed.
Growing up, was owning a trucking company what you wanted to do?
Nah, I never, dreamed of owning a trucking company. As kids, everybody want to be an NBA player, football player, NFL player, just into sports. Never imagined running a trucking company.
Do you think it was a great idea?
Trucking changed my life. It was one of the best ideas and things that I ever did.
Y'all clap it up for that young man. He now is a multi-millionaire owning trucking companies, and he was announced in 2021 one of the best minorities in Greenville. That's an awesome thing when you let God use you, though, and submit to his will. You see, because he said it. He said, I never dreamed of doing this thing. God will show you stuff that you never dreamed or imagined. And during that time frame when me and him took that picture, he said, Antoine, I want you to help all my employees work on their credit, get their finances in order. I said, wow, man. Look at God. Look what God can do to what somebody thought, oh, they gone, it's over with for them. God can take your mess. Come on now. God can take your mess, young people, and turn it into a message. People may count you out, but God will never count you out. As long as you living, as long as you got life, as long as you're breathing, you still have hope. You still have hope. And I'm about to wrap it up. John 15, verse 8. It reads this. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit, so shall ye be my disciple. As the Father have loved me, so have I loved you. Continue in my love. If you keep my commandments, you shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. The last suggestion I would like to give is give God the glory. When God bless you, make sure that you give God the glory. Don't let all the blessings distract you from the blesser. Because the same God who gives is the same God who can take away. He wants your life and he wants you to give him the glory, and he wants to be glorified through your life, young people. You ought to give God the glory. Because it's a lot of things, it's a lot of people who may have talent out there, but may just put it all on themselves. But God is wanting you to give him the glory in all that you say and do. You have to ask yourself, do you want God to be glorified through your life? And for the elders, do we want our young people lives to be glorified by God? You know, I know we have a passion and a desire to have a whole lot of youth in here. But to be real, we're not prepared. We're not ready for that. We're not ready for a young boy like that to come up in here because we're not prepared. So for us elder people, we got to get prepared for the youth. We ain't ready for City Heights, y'all. See, we got City Heights in here, we won't know what to do. All these young people come up in here. But I'm telling you, they want it. They need it. They ready. But they waiting on us to get ready. They waiting on us to get prepared. They waiting for something for us so we can give to them. Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. They ready for us, but are we ready for them? Mama Shaw had asked me, she say, what are we going to do for the back to school program? Caught me by surprise. I didn't know what to say. But we need to be ready. We got to get ready for the youth. And Jesus said it, I say it again. He said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto me. All men. So the same way that Jesus need to be lifted up, we need to lift him up all the times, at all times. So you watch how he draw them unto us. But how bad do we really want it? Because I'm telling you,